Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are here to talk about the brand new Morphe Live in Color collection. So if that is something you're interested in watching, then you are in the right place. We're about to get into it.
I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf.
Alright guys, so for those of you that don't know, we are in the middle of Pride Month. This is a month where the LGBTQ plus movement celebrates and commemorates a couple of things. One of the main things that they celebrate this month is the Stonewall Uprising. About 45 years ago, a little over 45 years ago now, a group of individuals resisted mistreatment and harassment at a place called the Stonewall Inn in Manhattan. Now that event set into motion the gay and lesbian civil rights that happened throughout the course of 1969. This would later become known as the Stonewall Uprising. Therefore, every year in the month of June, the LGBTQ plus community and their friends and family celebrate this month. In 1998, in this month, in June, and that wasn't that long ago, President Clinton actually issued an executive order that basically did away with discrimination against sexual orientation in the workplace. In addition to celebrating the Stonewall Uprising, they also take some time throughout the course of this month to remember loved ones that have passed away because of HIV/AIDS, hate crimes, or suicide, which is also kind of prevalent throughout the community still as well. Now, this is not the only time of year where we celebrate this community. On October the 11th is National Coming Out Day, so we have a couple of days throughout the year for this specific community. This just happens to be an entire month. Now, it used to only be one day. It used to be the last Sunday in June, and the last Sunday in June was known as Gay and Lesbian Day. But the last Sunday in June was always kind of moving around, so eventually there was a proclamation made, and we just decided to make it the entire month of June, and this is known as Pride Month. So that's just a little bit of history and backstory for you on Pride Month and its origins and kind of the struggle that it was born out of. Now, Morphe has decided to celebrate this month in a great fashion that they know how to with products. So we do have products that have the rainbow on the outside of them and on the packaging, which is, of course, as everybody knows, the sign of the LGBTQ plus community. So let's dive into these products and see what we have from Morphe. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is this palette. So gorgeous packaging, very striking on the front. You have this rainbow kind of splashed all the way across here, but the one thing I really want you guys to look at is the colors inside this palette. They really are stunning. So you have these very bright, bold, beautiful colors inside of here. And one of the things that I really like about this palette is there are a lot of primary colors in this palette. There's also colors in here that are really genuinely colors from the actual rainbow, and you don't see these colors done oftentimes in palettes, which is why this would be a great addition to your collection. You have things like a basic primary yellow, a basic primary red, and you really don't see those kind of true reds, a true yellow, those true blue primary colors. You just don't see that oftentimes inside of a palette, so this could be a great addition to your collection. Now, there are only 2 pressed pigments in here. Everything else is an eyeshadow. You do have several finishes that range from metallics to shimmers, and that's really it. You have You don't really have any duochromes or anything with a crazy shift in here. It is very just true to actual color, basic formula, basic primary colors, and I actually really like that about this palette. But let's take a close look at this palette just so you guys can see what it looks like really super up close. So this is actually called the 25L palette. It's the Live-In Color Artistry palette. It's currently sold out at Morphe, but Morphe is technically celebrating Pride Month during June and July, according to their website. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be bringing this back, considering they've extended this sale throughout 2 months this year, going all the way through until the end of July. I'm not really sure if any other Morphe retailers are going to be carrying it, like Ulta, etc., but definitely keep your eyes open. I do expect this to be restocked and to return soon. In addition to that, you're also going to see in here that the palette colors in here have all been named after different impactful things that have to do with Pride and Pride Month. You have 1978 is a color in here. That's the first year the rainbow flag was designed as a community symbol for the gay rights movement. You have words like liberation. You also have a color in here called Stonewall. You also have #LovesWins. You have Rise Up, Sunlight, Life, Sexuality, Truth. So all of the colors have kind of a Pride Month theme to the name, which I thought was a really neat way just to kind of incorporate Pride Month into the product and commemorate Pride Month. So I like that about this, is that if you want this as part of your collection, it's like a commemorative piece, and they've woven that commemoration throughout the product, not only with the outside, also the primary colors on the inside, and down to the names of each individual eyeshadow. And I thought that was really actually quite cool. One thing that is especially important to note about this collection is that 100% of the net proceeds from any piece of this collection is going to go to the Trevor Project. There are 2 pieces in this collection. You can get the brush set or you can get the palette. I'm going to go over the brush set with you in just a moment. But again, 100% of the proceeds are designed to go to the Trevor Project. Now, for those of you that don't remember, the Trevor Project is actually kind of a spin-off. It came from a movie that was produced, I think it was in like 1998. It might have actually been 1994. I'm not really sure. I think the film premiered in 94 and then it came on HBO in 98. But the significant thing that happened in 1998 was because this story was like a coming of age story about a young boy named Trevor, obviously with undertones from the LGBTQ plus community. The movie was very gripping and very good Oscar-winning movie. It did win Oscars the year that it came out. Now, when they premiered it on HBO, one of the things that I remember and that I thought was amazing about the premiere on HBO was that at the end of the HBO premiere, they had this whole thing talking about how they had set up the first part of the Trevor Foundation, which back then was a 24/7 national suicide prevention line for the LGBTQ plus community. The writer is actually the guy that secured the funds to start it, and when the HBO premiere launched, so did this very first 24/7 crisis intervention and suicide prevention hotline launched under the name of the Trevor Project. And again, it was a suicide prevention hotline or a crisis intervention hotline for young adults is how they marketed it, for people from 25 years old and younger. And there really hadn't been anything available for them up until that point. And that's how the Trevor Project started. Now, since then, it has built up into a great organization that does a lot of things for the LGBTQ plus youth in the country. And I think that was a great project for Morphe to partner with. So your proceeds will all be going to the Trevor Project as well, so that's something you should know if you decide to buy the collection. So let's take a look at some of the swatches from this palette. I'll go ahead and let you guys take a look at the swatches here. All right, you guys, we are going to go over these shades and talk about them a little bit. I do want to talk about the very first one. It is a matte bright white called Milk, named by Harvey Milk, who was a civil rights activist, one of the first openly gay elected officials in the U.S. The orange is Pride. The pink one there is Heart. And those are both matte. We have 1978, which is a shimmering lilac, the first year the rainbow flag was designed. Then we have Liberation, which is like a holographic metallic, and that gold is Stonewall. And we've already talked about Stonewall, so you guys already know about that. Next up is Culture. That's a coral, and that's a shimmering coral. And then we have hashtag Love Wins, which is a matte fuchsia. The next up is San Francisco, which is a matte magenta. It's got a little bit of sparkle in it. And then we have Rise Up, which is a shimmering, really pretty sapphire blue. And that is row 1 and row 2. Completely swatched out for you guys. I really love Liberation and Stonewall, which are those two really bright metallics there. I also love 1978, which is that lilac shimmer. They're stunning. But the mattes are even done really, really well. They're very soft, very buttery. I absolutely love them. So again, this is the first and second row in the palette. All right, next up we're going to hit rows 3 and 4. First we have Sunlight, which is a matte sunshine yellow, gorgeous color. Next, we have Life, which is a matte scarlet red. I absolutely love that red color. Next, we have Sexuality, which is a matte hot pink. And then next to that, we have Truth, which is like a matte grape color. Then Harmony, which is a shimmering marine blue. And then next, we have Healing, which is a really pretty true gold shimmer color. Then we have Activism next, which is a shimmering lime green, and Make Magic, which is a shimmering turquoise. Beautiful. Next we have Peace, which is a kind of like a Caribbean blue. And then we have Gilbert for Gilbert Baker, who designed the original rainbow flag in 1978. And that is like an indigo, and it does have some sparkle in it. Gilbert is a really, really pretty color. I love it. But these yellows and the red, these matte colors here at the very beginning, the yellow, the red, the pink, and the purple, those are done so well. So opaque, gorgeous. They blend beautifully on the eye. Rise Up, which is the deep blue there, is stunning. And then, of course, Activism, which is that green, and Make Magic, that teal, and Peace, which is that blue. And then you can see the sparkle there in that Gilbert, the last shade. All gorgeous. So these are row 3 and 4. And then we're going to get to the very last row, which is row 5. And the first one is Thrive. This is like a matte pear kind of color. Then we have Nature, which is like a matte, I would say more like a green apple. Next is Art, which is a very minty blue, and Parade, which is more of like a jade green. And then last but not least, we have NYC, which is a matte black, which is a tribute to New York City. So Thrive, that pear color is pretty. I also love the green apple color and that minty color as well. Parade, the first parade, Pride Parade, was on June 28th of 1970. And then, of course, the very last color, New York City, which is just the tribute to New York City, which has a long history of LGBTQ community building, activism, and culture. So that is it, you guys. We have the entire palette swatched. It's gorgeous. Really, genuinely a gorgeous palette. So as you guys can see, beautiful, bright, bold colors. 2 colors in here are pressed pigment, just so that you know when it comes to performance, etc. The 2 colors in here that are pressed pigments are Pride, which is the kind of orange one here, and Culture, which is like this peachy looking color here. These are the 2 pressed pigments, the rest of them just a standard shadow formula. I can say that, you know, sometimes Morphe palettes have a little bit of inconsistency. These bigger palettes usually are the better palettes, but then sometimes like the bronze palette and like some of those other palettes, the consistency is, I don't know, it's just lacking. They're just not as good as some of their other palettes. I wish they would get that consistency thing under control so that all of their palettes were consistently fantastic products, but it is what it is. This is a great palette. The formula is stunning. I'm so glad that Morphe did this one right. This actually is a fantastic palette. And again, the colors in it are gorgeous. Definitely a palette that you can grab and add to your collection. And I guarantee you, you probably don't have a lot of these bright colors in your current collection because they're just not very common. And I love that about this palette. Now, moving on to the brushes. So, the one thing that's actually probably my favorite thing about this brush is the case. I love this brush case, and it doesn't have to necessarily just be for these brushes. Obviously, you can put any of your brushes inside of this brush case and it would be fine, but I love the brush case. It has the Morphe logo here, and then it has the beautiful rainbow that just wraps all the way around it. I love it. It's this kind of leather feeling to it, which I absolutely love, and then it just opens like a clamshell like this, and it is magnetic, so it kind of sucks back together, and once it's shut, it's very secure, so your brushes it's not going to open up and your brushes go flying everywhere. Now, when you first get it, it comes like this, and it has these 2 little inserts here that are going to actually display this brush collection very pretty for you. So it is a nice, beautiful display, but of course, these little inserts come out, and you can just use it as your brush collection. So let's take a close-up look at the case and the brushes and the way that it looks overall as a whole here. So of course you have the custom case with this collection. You have an M513, an M507, an M222, you have an M431, an M326, a M167, and an M158. All included in this set, and we'll go over each of these brushes so you can just take a look at what these brushes actually look like. But of course, this is a $39 value, but they're only selling this for $28, you guys. And I forgot to mention that as well when it comes to this palette. This palette is only retailing for $20, which is stunning considering the quality of the product in here and all of the work that went into this kind of commemoration palette. I think $20 is incredible. So I think this is a great price point. But these, they say the retail value of this is like a $39 value. And then of course the sale price on this is $28. Now I do want to talk about the brushes that are in here because I do feel like they actually made some good choices when it comes to the brushes themselves. So of course you do have a beautiful blending brush in here. This is the M513. This is just going to be a normal eyeshadow blending brush. This is a nice full fluffy blending brush that buffs color into your crease. It's going to give you a diffused wash of color. This is what's going to help you from not having any harsh lines when it comes to your eyeshadow and being able to blend out. So this is the blending brush in the collection, which I think every brush kit should have. So I like seeing this in here. I think this was a great choice. So again, you have the M513. Next up, you have the M507. This is actually a pointed blender brush, and I'll give you guys a close-up of it here. This is one of my favorite brushes from Morphe. I love using the pointed mini blender brush underneath my lash line. It's a very slim brush. It tapers to a fine point. It'll give you a very wispy application of colors. You can use it to blend out harsh edges or deposit small amounts of color in very targeted areas. You can use it on your inner corner here, but again, my favorite favorite use of this is just to kind of smoke out color right along the lower lash line. I love this brush. It's one that I use every day, so I think this is a great addition to the collection as well. Next up is the M222. This is a round blending brush. Now this is going to be really good for doing the little mini circles here or doing that windshield wiper blend in more concentrated areas. This is really good if you're going to do kind of an intricate eye look that has layers. If you want to do like a gradient look, you can use the natural fluffy brush to lay down that transition color. And then when you really want to get into the crease and do a really beautiful blend, this is a great brush to do that with. So again, this is the M222, the round crease brush. You're going to have rounded bristles on here that again will help you to perfect any kind of windshield wiper motions in your crease, circular motions. That'll be great for blending. It's a classic. This is one that everybody needs in their kit, so this is also a great addition to this kit. Next up is the M431, and this is your classic pencil brush. So again, as a pencil brush, you can do inner corner highlight. You can also use this one to smudge out the lower lash line, although this is going to give you a darker concentration of color, whereas the thin, wispy, tapered brush that we talked about earlier is going to give you kind of more of a wispy blend of color. This will give you more of a concentrated line of color. So this is actually really good for smudging out your eyeliner as well, because it'll keep that color low and dense and it won't blow it out. It'll keep it nice and concentrated down onto your lash line. So of course a pencil brush is always welcome in a brush kit. So yeah, that's what this one is. This is the M431 and it's a pencil brush. Next up is the M326. Now this is the other brush that I love to use for inner corner highlight. It is more of like a flat kind of precision brush that's again really nice for detailing. This does an inner corner highlight stunningly, but this is a smaller kind of blending brush that I can use to pat color onto my outer V before I blend it out. I can also use this one to smudge out my lower lash line. This is going to be used for detail work as well. So you have another small brush here that you can use for more intricacies when it comes to your eye look. So this is a good addition. I actually do like this. Next up is the M167. This is your classic oval shadow brush. This again is just a overall shader brush, except it's the flat version. So these are really good to pat color onto the lid, and of course it's also good for blending out that outer V. I think the flat blending brushes are something that should be included in just about every kit. Again, this is a flat shader brush. It has natural bristles, so it's going to grab your powder shadows, and it's got just enough firmness to it so you can really pat color onto the lids and get really good maximum pigmentation with brushes like this. The firmness of the bristles will allow it to hold up a little bit more when we're spraying it with our Fix Plus before we put it into our shadow to pack it onto the lid. It just helps it to stand up a little bit more to everything that we put it through. But yeah, of course, the M167 is definitely a classic brush that should be in anybody's brush kit. And then, of course, there is the good old M158. You have your angled brush and spoolie combo. This, of course, has to be in any brush kit. I mean, my goodness. You can use this, obviously, for eyeliner. You can use it for your brows. And then, of course, your spoolies attached here. Everybody knows what this is used for, and everybody knows that we should all at least have one. So, overall, when you're talking about this brush kit from a component perspective, in all of these brushes, you actually have a really good, perfect, very well-rounded mini brush kit here. I think they did a really good job with the selection of all of these brushes. All of these are natural hair with the exception of the M326. That is the only one that is natural and synthetic. And then, of course, your angled brush is also synthetic. Everything else here is a natural haired brush, which I actually prefer. But yeah, so I think honestly all of these are fantastic. I think they've done a great job with this brush set, and then of course you get this beautiful case to go along with your brushes, and both of these together, you guys, just look stunning. I think these look really good on any vanity, and honestly the price point, you just can't beat it. You get a whole brush set and this gorgeous case for $28 and this palette for $20. So overall, this collection is absolutely Erica approved. I'm so glad that Morphe did a really good job on this collection. I think they did, I think they just did it very well, and I love that. And I love that all of the proceeds are going to the Trevor Project, because I think that's very important for our youth to have access to those types of resources, especially in today's climate. So I'm really glad that organizations like that are out there. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this collection. Is this something that you guys are going to get your hands on? I know that it's out of stock right now on the Morphe site, but again, according to Morphe's website, they're saying that 100% of the proceeds go to the Trevor Project in their disclaimer. And in the disclaimer, it says that the Trevor Project and the proceeds are going to be donated throughout the Pride months of June and July, which leads me to believe that they're going to have this for sale throughout June and July. So I don't foresee them being sold out of this for an entire month and a half, since we're only halfway through June. So I'm sure there's going to be a restock. All right, guys, again, let me know what you think about the collection in the comments down below. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to reach out on Instagram at Erica Approved. If you are new here, welcome. We're so glad that you came by. Feel free to hit the thumbs up button for me. I really, really appreciate it. And also, feel free to subscribe. You know you want to, so just go ahead and do it. As always, be kind to each other this month, you guys. I hope you all are very happy and very healthy. And I will see you guys in my next video.